Sacramento. It is Wednesday, and if you are listening to us on the radio, thank you. If you are watching us live via Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all of those things, we just went live 30 seconds ago, so hang tight. We'll be there. We'll be there in a second. But Selling Sacramento is brought to you by Matthews and Company Realty Group, where I, Agent Key, am broker and owner with almost 20 years in the industry. I enjoy helping you buy, sell, and retain real estate. Go to my website at agentkey.com, agentkee.com, and connect with me. Let me know that you're ready to have the conversation about home ownership, or if you are looking to sell. On our show today, we have a reparations update. I love having the representatives from CJEC, California Justice Coalition for Equitable. Get that right. I think I got it right. Y'all can chime in and say if I got it right or not. They're nodding their heads. So they are with us virtually, y'all. And I'm excited to have them here today because reparations are happening largely in part because of the grassroots efforts of the CJEC and other organizations like them that have their eyes and ears and hands close to the ground and working with the California Reparations Task Force, bringing all of these things to fruition. But there is a lot that's out there that is not correct. And so we plan to correct that information on today's show. So stay tuned. But first, I want to get started before I bring my guests on. I always say, if I talk about something that's not directly real estate related, I let you know how it ties into real estate. And so reparations, of course, does tie into real estate. And I first want to start this show by sharing with you all a press release from the California Association of Realtors. It's an apology, ladies and gentlemen. I've got to put my second pair of eyeballs on because I printed this. And it says, and this is dated October 14th, which is just 12 days away. 12 days ago. 12 days ago. So this was just released 12 days ago. The California Association of Realtors formally apologizes for its past discriminatory policies, including Proposition 14, a successful 1960s ballot initiative that overturned the state of California's first fair housing law. I'm going to let that paragraph sink in. They are apologizing for their discriminatory policies, including implementing a proposition that successfully overturned the state of California's first fair housing law. It goes on to say, regrettably, the California Real Estate Association, CREA, that's who they were known as at that time, now known as California Association of Realtors. They once played a leading role in segregation and exclusionary practices in housing. This is them saying this. I'm going to read it exactly how it says. This is them saying, regrettably, we once played a leading role in segregation and exclusionary practices in housing. California communities still grapple with wealth and homeownership inequities. For decades, CREA promoted policies that encouraged discrimination and the idea that neighborhood integration would negatively impact property values. The association endorsed racial zoning, redlining, and racially restrictive covenants. The association was wrong. We not only apologize for those actions, we strongly condemn them. And we will continue working to address the legacy of these discriminatory policies and practices, says CAR President Otto Katrina. CREA was behind Article 34, a law passed in the 1950s that remains in place that is very difficult to build affordable housing in California. The association also excluded women and people of color from membership. In the 1960s, California's first fair housing law, the Rumford Fair Housing Act, was passed. CREA actively encouraged its members to support Proposition 14, a law that and modified California's constitution so that the state could not prohibit private property owners from engaging in discrimination. The U.S. Supreme Court overturned the proposition as unconstitutional. In the years since the passage of the Federal Fair Housing Act of 1968, the California Fair Employment and Housing Act, and other fair housing laws, CAR has prioritized understanding and addressing the unique homeownership barriers impacting communities of color and other historically excluded communities. We have continued to unpack our difficult and sometimes obscure history of opposing fair housing laws, promoting segregation and racial exclusion. Prior to the Fair Housing Act of 1968. And as an organization that deeply values inclusion, we can't change all the actions of the past, but we are taking bold actions now to help build a more equitable and just future, said Katrina. For instance, CAR recently sponsored a law requiring periodic implicit bias training for all real estate salespersons. Additionally, CAR helped shape a new law that strengthens consumer protection in instances of appraisal bias. Currently, CAR is working to address the legacy of discriminatory practices in a variety of ways. These include a closing cost grant for members of underserved communities, donating to the Black Wealth Builders Fund, a down payment assistance program for Black home buyers in the Bay Area, partnering with and sponsoring the work of nonprofit organizations that support greater home ownership for members of underserved communities, sponsoring and supporting a variety of policies that address supply and affordability challenges for communities of color, co-sponsoring a bill that would overturn the law California passed in the 1950s that makes it much harder for California communities to build affordable housing, and supporting a law that provides a system for redacting restrictive covenants in property records. That is, those are those CC&Rs that explicitly say that Black people were not welcome in certain neighborhoods after a certain time. They had to go through back doors to come in through properties. They had to be out of neighborhoods by a certain time, the sundown laws, those types of things. CAR will continue to develop and strengthen programs that break down barriers to home ownership. And to learn more about this, visit fairhousingcalifornia.org. So some of you listening right now might be asking, what is CAR apologizing for? I think they were pretty clear about exactly what it was they were apologizing for, but I'd like to put some cherries on the top and share with you all a little more detail about what it was or what it is that they're apologizing for. So the California Reparations Task Force Committee has undertaken the task of putting together a package that proposes reparations for Californians, for descendants, African descendants of slavery in California. And there are, I think, 14, I want to get it right. Chris, are there 14 different categories that they've broken this down?
There are between 12 and 14 different types of atrocities and harms that reparations would be for the African Americans who are descendants of persons who were enslaved in the United States. Yes.
So between 12 and 14. So I want to tell you that two of the categories directly impact real estate. And one of them is specifically housing segregation. They pull that out. It is in the report. The other one is generational wealth building. The wealth gap is how they label it. So I want to read a little bit about what the report found. there's a lot of information here, and I don't want to go through it all. So actually what I think I'm going to do is just give you, it's a 26 page, the summary is just 26 pages. And I took about an hour last weekend and read through it to make sure that I was aware of what was in the report. But they also have they pulled out a portion of the report called key findings. So I want to tell you, I'm going to read from the key findings as it pertains to real estate, the items that they pulled out in the report. So they say government actors working with private individuals actively segregated America into Black and white neighborhoods. These are their findings. In California, federal, state, and local governments created segregation through discriminatory federal housing policies, zoning ordinances, decisions on where to build schools, and discriminatory federal mortgage policies known as redlining. Funded by communities through park and highway construction, and by other means. Due to segregation compared to white Americans, more likely to live in rural housing and in neighborhoods that are polluted with inadequate infrastructure. Black Californians. And so to some of you, the reason that I'm going through all of this information is because if we don't know our history, then we don't understand what a lot of this information is that's being presented in front of us, and then we won't know how to change moving forward. Oftentimes people say, and I've heard it growing up, and we've been stigmatized as a race, that we're lazy, we're this, we're that, we need to just pick ourselves up by our bootstraps, all while these incidents, these atrocities have been a major cause as to why we are in last place in all of these things. Someone said last week, I heard in a conversation, they said, God stopped the world with COVID to give Black people time to catch up. Wow. Think about that. Wow. Because if we think about how COVID has just really changed everything, and it really has given us time, it's allowed us to stop and see things that we would not see before. And by us seeing these things that we haven't seen before, there's almost this empathy, this new empathy for Black people that America never had before. I don't want to get into it too deep because I don't want to take up too much time just being philosophical, and we want to get to the facts. Preliminary recommendations. So they pointed out in this report, here is what happened, here are our findings, and here are recommendations. And so I specifically want to talk about the recommendations that they provided for housing. Identify and eliminate anti-Black housing discrimination policy practices. Compensate individuals forcibly removed from their homes due to state action, including but not limited to park construction, highway construction, and urban renewal. Prevent current banking and mortgage-related discrimination, including but not limited to discriminatory actions as a result of artificial intelligence and automated data analytics. Repeal Article 34 of the California Constitution, which California Association of Realtors is on board with. Repeal or counteract the effects of crime-free housing policies that disproportionately limit Black residents' access to housing. Establish a state-subsidized mortgage system that guarantees low interest rates for qualified California Black mortgage applicants. Identify previous and eliminate current policies and practices that overwhelmingly contribute to the vast overrepresentation of African Americans among the unhoused population. Identify and eliminate any policies with blatant anti-Black residency requirements or preferences, invalidate and deem unlawful any contract with an anti-Black and secure public housing for vulnerable populations, including those persons who are formerly incarcerated in foster care, and provide incentives for businesses that provide healthy stores in predominantly Black neighborhoods to address increasingly prevalent food swamps. So that is just a little bit of one of the 12 to 14 categories that they cover. I wanted to tie it in with real estate. There's so much there. Today we have on the show with us Chris Lodgson from the CJEC, Kim Mims, and Umoya Glass. Welcome, all of you.
Hey.
Thanks
Say hello in there.
Hey, Sacramento.
Thanks for having us.
Take the time and introduce yourselves.
I guess ladies first. I'm
Oh,
Kim
boy.
Mims out here in Sacramento, part of CJEC, which is a coalition for Just and Equitable California, also part of ETM, Emin the Mass Media Group, and we're kind of the digital marketing arm for our activism coalition.
I'll let you go ahead, bro.
Oh, thank you, brother. Chris Lodgson, one of the lead organizers here in Sacramento with CJEC, the Coalition for Just and Equitable California. Also a big supporter of ETM Media Group. I am a huge supporter of the ETM Media team. And as well, I am working with ARCC, ARC, the American Redress Coalition of California, the Sacramento team in particular. What's up, Sacramento?
Welcome, you guys. Welcome.
So Sacramento family, just real quick, my name is Umoya Glass, also a member of CJEC and ARC. And
you're breaking up, Umoya.
Can you hear me now?
You're breaking up. Say that one more time. Yes, sir.
Okay. Umoya Glass, CJEC and ARC, and also co-partner in the Mass Media Group, and I'm a multimedia producer. What's up, Sacramento?
Yes. Umoya is the hands and the feet and the wheels. He and Kim. Chris is out in front doing all the, getting in front of. Chris is like the person who throws all the punches, and as y'all are going to hear. But Umoya and Kim back him right on up. They back him right on up. It's a great team. And so I'm honored to have you all with us today. So let's get started. Actually, you know what? I want to take a break. And then when we come back from the break, I want to share something with everyone because they are on the move all throughout the state of California. I've seen Chris and his team working for a couple of years now, and sometimes the work gets done quietly in the background before it gets to the forefront. They are now at the forefront, and we're going to let you in on all of those details when we come back from the break. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I'm Agent Key, and we'll be right back. Okay. Woo! See, I forgot to put the mic up to the thing there. And
no worries. Thanks for that intro. That was a dope. Actually, and I know we're still live, so I want to give a shout out to everybody that's watching the live, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah, if you guys are watching, say something in the comments. Let us know you're there. Yeah. Especially if you have any questions for the team.
Yes. Any questions about reparations, what's going on, when, how, etc. Definitely want to hear any questions. I'm happy to answer any questions. And I'm so glad that you talked about the apology from the Real Estate Association. I think that was dope. I actually just found out about that yesterday. I was at a meeting with the Black American Political Action Committee, BAPAC, here in Sacramento, and one of the persons who was there at the meeting who works with them is a part of one of the local real estate associations. And he actually mentioned it to me. And it's just such a coincidence that you also read it here today. And yeah, Section 34, Article 34 of the state constitution, or, I think it's Proposition 14 that you also mentioned back in 1964. I just Googled them real quick just to learn more about them. And yeah, those are.
Chris, you're breaking up. You're breaking up. Uh-oh. We're breaking up, guys.
Key, just real quick, we are getting a little latency on your end. So I don't know if that also might be the issue. Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah, it's kind of in the matrix a little bit.
I've got us on the mobile hotspot because we weren't doing well with the in-house. I'll take it off and let's see how it goes. I'm going to put it back on.
Maybe not for this show. You guys don't have Ethernet though? Ethernet, sometimes if you hardwire in.
I wish. If we had Ethernet, I'd use it all the time.
Like Stevie, huh? I wish.
Yes. Let's see. Can you look over there? Is that ATT? Does that say? Oh, that's the KD. I think Ann took me to the ATT one. Let me see.
The access point?
Yeah, that one's KDEE.
Yes.
Okay. So I just switched it over. Let's see if it works better with this one. Chris?
Yes. Mic check. 1, 2.
I hope that was just a refreshing happening.
Yeah, obviously you're kind of stuck in your video, but we can hear your audio.
Yeah? How about now? Let me know if it gets worse or better.
It sounds good, but like Moya said, you're a little frozen.
Okay. We're coming back onto the show, but you guys let me know if it gets crazy.
Yeah, we could definitely hear you.
Hey, we're back. Sure. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we are talking about reparations. We are talking specifically about an apology. Before we took the break, we were talking about the apology from the California Association of Realtors, how that weaves into the California Reparations Task Force's report. And we have with us today the members from CJEC, the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California. And Chris, you were saying something during the break, but our technology broke up. I want you to go ahead and finish with that.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you for reading the apology from the California Association of Realtors. And we talked in the opening, you talked in the opening about Article 34 of the California Constitution and California Proposition 14 in 1964, both of which are related to housing. So for the folks listening out there, for the folks watching, both of these were things that the state of California did to hurt us in housing. The California Proposition 14, the Article 34 of the state constitution, the California Proposition 14 was a ballot measure that amended or changed our state constitution to get rid of the Fair Housing Act. And that allowed property sellers, landlords, and real estate agents to openly discriminate on race when selling or letting housing. So this was something that the state of California, and in this case, the state of California voters by 65% said we wanted to get rid of the Fair Housing Act back in 1964. And that changed our state constitution. And that's still going on now. And then you also mentioned real quick, Article 34 of the state constitution, which the California Reparations Task Force is recommending that be repealed. Article 34 prevents any low-income, low-rent housing from being developed without a majority of the local officials in a place, whether it's your city or your town or your county, from saying yes. So in order to even add any low-income housing projects, it has to be voted on and approved by the local people or the local politicians. This is a thing that's hurting our ability to actually do more low-income housing, more low-income rent, and it's something that we desperately need.
Right. And the reason that is important to point out is because if you have to get the local officials, the local government to vote on that, overwhelmingly people are going to vote against it just because you mentioned low-income housing.
Oh, absolutely. Key, just one more thing. Some of y'all may be seeing a story floating around right now out of the Sacramento Bee talking about how there were 20 homeless shelters approved last year in the city, but none of them have opened. So Sacramento approved 20 extra homeless shelters, but none of them have opened. And that is largely because of opposition from the public and from the people who live in the neighborhood. So to your point, if you are relying on the people in the neighborhoods to say you can have, in this case, shelters, but in the larger case, low income housing, then you're going to have less low income housing and you're going to have less sheltering for our unhoused people.
That's a great thing to point out, because we can point back to all of the news stories where we heard people on the news saying, it even became a thing, not in my backyard, NIMBY, right? Not in my backyard. And so that is just a resounding call when it comes to providing housing that is, whether we call it low income, affordable, but these are the things that put us in this position. These historical, it hurts my heart, and I don't like to get emotional about things, but our government allowed discrimination, y'all. It is on the books. So when people today say things like, why don't you just pick yourself up by your bootstraps? Or that's not happening anymore. Or there are laws now that say that can't happen. We're here today to educate you that just because the law is no longer on the books doesn't mean the principle isn't still in the person's heart.
Right.
Doesn't mean that the behavior isn't still entrenched in many of the behaviors from the laws. Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, and I didn't mean to jump in, but you were so right that, and in this case, the laws, and let's make a difference here. What we just talked about, Article 34, Proposition 14, the numbers really don't matter that much, what the numbers are. But these are actually still on the books. And these were changes to the state constitution. There's a difference between the Constitution and the law. The Constitution governs the laws. And in our Constitution right now, literally right now, in our Constitution here in California, our state constitution that's in charge of our laws, it says no low income housing can be created without the local people saying yes. And we said back in 1964 that we don't want no parts of the federal fair housing act. That is what California, unfortunately, this was the voters, the people of California. And in order to change our state constitution, usually the voters have to do it through a ballot measure or ballot proposition. So these things are still here. They're still there. And these are things that we have to change.
So to that point, I want to share something with everyone. So y'all stand by.
Two-day public hearing on the group's historic initial report that looked at why reparations are needed. Ultimately, the task force will work toward what reparations could look like if the state legislature creates a law that would provide them. Eyewitness News reporter Leo Stallworth has the details.
Put your hand up if you are a descendant of U.S. slavery. If you are a descendant of U.S. slavery, put your hand up. Keep your hand up and say reparations. 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 Descendants of U.S. slavery, the people behind me that built this country, that's who reparations is for.
The California Reparations Task Force holding 2 days of hearings here at the California Science Center to talk about its initial report. It's the first of its kind in the nation report.
We're looking at not only what caused slavery, but more important, the impact slavery has had on African Americans. So the first report went out in June.
State Assemblyman Reginald Jones Sawyer is a member of the California Reparations Task Force. He says the 2 days of hearings allows the public to weigh in on the different aspects of reparations.
The initial report was stated why we need reparations. The next phase is, what is reparations? Is it closing the wealth gap, education gap, criminal justice system? There's about 13 different topics.
California is the only state that is hosting reparations task force meetings. This is to get information out to the community and hear their input on why reparations are important.
Harriet Tubman we got right here.
UCLA student Milagro Jones attending the hearings.
It's time for our government to do what's right and to do what's ethical and to be morally responsible.
This hearing is very important because it's keeping the issue of reparations alive.
Ultimately, on June 30th, 2023, on time, we're going to have a final report with all the recommendations for reparations. I've been told that on the federal level in each state, they're waiting for us to produce our report, because this could be the blueprint for what other states will do. That's why this is so significant.
Leo Stallworth, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
So, wow, that was you at the beginning of that video, Chris.
Oh, that was me. And shout out to the whole Los Angeles
You are awesome.
area.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yo, that was a dope hearing.
Awesome.
So many people.
Right. And to your point where you're saying so many people, tell us just how deep this network is.
Yeah. So, well, the public hearings are public. So, for example, in LA, there were hundreds of people that attended the hearings last month. There were, it was standing room only. Mm-hmm. Standing room only. I mean, for both days of hearings. As for our network at CJEC, the Coalition for Just and Equitable California, first, let me say we are an organization born for reparations in the state of California. That's all we do. That's what we were born for, reparations and what we call reparative justice. So stuff related to reparations. And we work all across the state. We have a team that works in Southern California. We have teams that work in the middle of California. We have teams that work here in Northern California too. So we're all over the state.
Okay. And I think Umoya had said that was probably the most energy-filled meeting to date. Umoya, what do you mean by that? What did you witness?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, Keith, thank you for allowing us to speak and being on your platform and speak to your people. Kim and I and Chris and other members of CJEC who went down to Los Angeles, it was just a huge energy. If people don't know about Amend the Mass Media Group, you can actually go on to YouTube, type in Amend the Mass Media Group, and we've covered everything basically from inception to present, right? So now San Francisco, I'm going to segue into it. San Francisco was a little bit tamer. There actually wasn't a lot of people there. There were some, but there weren't a lot. But Los Angeles it was turned up. Angeles.
When were the hearings in San Francisco?
The San Francisco, if I'm correct, I believe it was April 13th and 14th.
So that was earlier in the year,
yeah,
right?
Earlier this year.
And then Los Angeles was more recently.
September 23rd and 24th.
Okay. And the reason I'm making is the distinction is there a distinction between the energy because of the time lapse and the things that are happening right now, possibly?
Possibly. I think one of the issues that reparations, especially in California, is having is also the promotion of it and the communications. I know the task force and also the Bunch Center, they're still working on that. Mm-hmm. But we as the advocate community have been trying to push for them to really confirm a publication firm. They haven't done that yet. So I think that's one of the issues. But as far as like the energy between like Northern California and Southern California, just in general, I'm just going to be honest with you. I think overall, just support in general, not only from media, but just from advocacy work there's more energy down there in Los Angeles. So as Chris was saying, there was a lot of people down there. A lot of people came out and supported the groups. If you go onto our channel, we actually did some interviews with some members in the community, and it's very interesting. And I think that's why it's very important that we call ourselves freedmen. I'm just saying, as we call ourselves freedmen, right? Some people say African-American, but I think there's also important we have to delineate and disaggregate. And the reason why I say that is because as ETM media, our interviews, if you go onto our YouTube channels, you'll see our energy, our media, it's a lot different, right? When we tell it from our perspective, our story, not saying that ABC or whoever, NBC, who was there didn't do a good job, but you really get it from the grassroots, right? You really get it from the people, because we interviewed Milagro. Shout out to Milagro. You see the interview is totally different. You see his energy, the way he's giving information is real. And I'm not saying that it's not real there, but it's edited in a certain way. There's a certain way that they produce things that make it not as to the point and not in your face. And I'd like to give a shout out to my partner right here, Chris, because we had a great interview. And I think this is where we can segue into misinformation, right? Because there was something that happened at the task force meeting that created a whole bunch of misinformation. And I don't know if Chris would like to go into it, or if we have time at this point to segue into it, if you're going to a commercial. But
if
maybe
you can remember, if you want to share that, because that's what this is about, and how do we resolve the misinformation right here on this platform.
Okay, so real quick, and I'll pass it to Chris, but there was something that was said by another advocacy group that really, there was a lot of misinformation on that, and we actually covered it on our channel, but I'll let Chris go ahead and elaborate on what happened down in the task force meeting.
Yeah, so thanks, bro. And yeah, there was a lot of amazing energy at the hearings in Los Angeles at the California Science Center, which was just last month, just about a month ago, actually, just a little bit over a month ago. But to my brother's point here, what we want to do is make sure that all of the information that's coming out about California reparations is the most accurate and the most highest quality as possible. So one, I would say to people right now listening, go to our website, cjecofficial.org or cjec-official.org. Both of them are where you can go. It goes to the same site, and sign up for our California reparations newsletter. That way you can get the most current and accurate information about California reparations. But we want to make sure that people know a couple of things. One, there is no reparations application available right now. So for people who are asking, hey, how do I apply for reparations? There is no reparations application available right now. And then two, for people asking, well, how much is the reparations going to be, or how much money am I going to get? I think there was some talk about people sending their checking account numbers already to some of the state elected officials, saying this is where you send me the money. So there is no amount ready. I mean, this has literally happened. There is no amount yet. The task force, and this is important for people to know, the reparations task force has to create a reparations plan first. That reparations plan is being made now in these public hearings. And the reparations plan is due in July of 2023. That reparations plan is going to come out July of 2023. So that's the plan that's going to have in it how much money and et cetera. And this is how you would apply, et cetera. That plan, when it comes out in July of 2023, that plan then gets sent to the governor, sent to the California State Senate, sent to the California State Assembly for them to make into a bill and then make into a law. So we are in the process right now of making the plan. This is why these public hearings are so important, because you and me and us, we get to help put in the plan the stuff that we want to see in the plan. What do Chris, we want for reparations? Yeah.
You're bringing up another excellent point, because, and I've talked about it on this show a couple of times, by the time that an issue goes to public comment, it's too late, ladies and gentlemen. When they get to public comment, where you get to just come up and give your 2 cents about something, it's too late. What Chris is saying is this is the bill in the making, the language, the information, the content, these hearings that are happening. This is where you get involved. This is where you give your opinion. Don't wait for it to get to a situation where it's down the road. The backdoor deals have been made. The hands have been shook. The money has been exchanged. And then they say, okay, now we're going to just throw this out there for public comment to let people feel like they've been heard. It's too late by then. So now is the time. So Chris, tell us, you're muted right now, but unmute yourself and tell us where we can expect the next hearings to take place.
Yeah, Oakland, California. Oakland, Wednesday,
Right up
December
the
14th.
road.
Thursday, December 15th. Wednesday, December 14th. Thursday, December 15th in Oakland, California. In person and virtual, you can attend the next California reparations public hearing. So if you can't drive all the way down to Oakland, then watch the reparations public hearings live streamed on ETM Media Group on YouTube. Also live streaming on our website, CJEC-official.org. Just click the videos tab, and also live streaming on the website of the California Department of Justice. So make sure you are a part of the California Reparations Task Force public hearings, but you don't have to wait, though, to talk to the California Reparations Task Force. So if you want the California Reparations Task Force to repeal Article 34 of the Constitution dealing with our housing, if you want the California Department, if you want the California Reparations Task Force to do something about the Fair Housing Act that we said we didn't like and we didn't want to do nothing with back in 1964. If you are a part of a real estate organization and you want to show that you are wanting to make change and you want to do other things, then you can talk to the California Reparations Task Force now. The California Reparations Task Force has an email, has a phone number that you can call and leave a voicemail. And you can also reach out to individual task force members directly too. Most of the information is public, and actually send them your ideas. So you don't have to wait until the next hearing, but the next hearings are Wednesday, December 14th and Thursday, December 15th.
That is great to know. And so if they can either go to the DOJ website to get the Reparations Task Force information, and you also store it on the CJEC website, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And they can go to your website to sign up for updates that come directly to their email about this entire process.
Absolutely. We send out a California Reparations monthly newsletter. If there's one thing I would ask people to do today, one thing that you can do to help reparations is stay informed about reparations. Make sure you are staying informed. And you can do that by going to our website, www.cjec-official.org. That's www.cjec-official.org. On the front homepage, if you scroll down half the page, there's a short form. You can sign up for our California Reparations newsletter. We just also added a text blast and a call list too. So if you want to get text updates or call updates also about California reparations, you can sign up for that too. Do that today.
Thank you. That was a nice commercial. A nice segue. We're going to take another break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the task force and the next steps, not only for the task force, but for CJEC. You've been listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we'll be right back. I changed or updated the website there.
Okay, dope. Thank you. Yeah, both of them work too. Both of them work. So
okay.
Yeah, both of them go to the same place. So
okay, I want to say hello to everybody. I'm sorry, y'all. I was ignoring you. Linda Lee, good afternoon. That's my
Linda.
mama, y'all. Linda Lee that's mama. Miss
Hey,
Christy,
mama.
how are you? How are you, dear? Hey there.
Christy.
And Miss Nikki's been commenting. Lots of
Nikki.
working homeless. Yeah, that working homeless thing is something new for us. You know, I was telling somebody I've seen a few times on more than one occasion on this route that I take on my when I'm exercising, parked cars at 6 and 6:30 in the morning with blankets over the windows because someone is sleeping in them. And they're parked in the commercial district where the stores are going to open up in 2 hours, but it's kind of off in the cut. So it's a nice area. So it's a safe place to park and sleep, right? And these are people that I saw one of them a couple of times leave around the same time. So they were going to work. They're in the car getting dressed to go to work. They're homeless. And we probably all know somebody that either is living in their car or living with somebody else. And because it's just so expensive, you know, to rent, to buy. I'm sorry, y'all, I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. I'm looking at the other comments coming in. Miss Laura Bean, hello. Thank you for
Laura.
tuning in. Hey. Nikki said
Key,
yes.
you absolutely right. The last numbers I saw, and this may be a little bit dated, so it was within the last 5 years or so, but there's something between 30 to 40%, maybe more, but I want to say safely 30 to 40% of those who are unhoused, who have jobs, who are working. And I don't hide from saying this. People know that I got my organizing start in homeless shelters on the East Coast in New York City, but I was living inside of those shelters while I was doing the organizing work, and I got a job, but I was still living there. I was still in them shelters too. And there was a lot of us who was going to work every day and then going back to the shelter, going to work every day, going back to the shelter, and so that's real. That is real.
Yeah. And I think that this, the increase in homelessness, people are trying to contribute it strictly to the drugs, the methamphetamine, what was it?
Drugs and mental illness.
Yeah, drugs. Well, the drugs and then causing the mental illness, But there are people who are sane, who are homeless, who work 9 to 5s, and a lot of them. So we're getting ready to come back, y'all.
Absolutely.
Miss Kim, we want to hear from you this time around.
2.
All right, Kim, you want to talk about the report?
Hey, everyone, we're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we are with CJEC, the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California. And Yamoya, you were saying something just as we were getting started here.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, and maybe Kim can elaborate, we're actually doing a full reading on our ETM media group, and Chris is as well on his Twitter space about the California Reparations report. So Kim, I'll let you take it over from there.
I think you covered it, but what ETM is doing, and this is actually the report here, the 500-page report, as you can see, it's thick there. And on ETM Media, you can go to our channel, ETM Media Group YouTube, and we have a deck. I want to call it a slide deck or a video deck, where they're all together, readings of the report. We've been reading them every night, mostly Yamoya, but I will jump in to give him a break. I jumped in to read the chapter 5 on housing, the one that you just went over, Key, which was interesting. What I found interesting in the apology from the Realtors Association is they mentioned redlining, they mentioned eminent domain, urban renewal, highway, that they were looking to make amends for people who lost property in those instances. But I didn't hear them mention the subprime mortgage crisis that happened in 2008, because I know a lot of people lost their home in that, but everybody's just trying to gloss over it like it didn't happen. And I view the subprime mortgage crisis just as I do the Homestead Act, the GI Bill, and all the other atrocities. So I really want people to focus in on the 2008 housing crisis. And another thing I want to say is that the task force is in what they're calling the development stage, in developing proposals. And again, since housing is such a close one to my heart, because I went through the whole 2008 subprime mortgage downturn, looking to build proposals to help repair people who were harmed in that. And then if anybody has an idea of a proposal that could work for housing, please drop it in the chat. Let us know, because we are in real time submitting those proposals to the task force for consideration.
Thank you for that, Kim. That is really important. With this invention of social media and video and virtual media, I don't think people realize just exactly how much power they have to bring about change. I think it was when Obama was elected president that politicians actually saw the power that a grassroots effort campaign could make through social media, because you could reach so many people. And so I don't want people to take lightly what you just said when you said, if you're an organization or someone that has an idea that can help bring about the change that we're looking for, she literally said, drop it in the chat. Like, we can do that now. Drop your name, email address, information in the chat, or go to the CJEC website and reach out to them there. Make a direct connection. You think about also like what, Instagram and LinkedIn. We can now reach out and touch celebrities who were super far away from us at one point. You can be inboxed by a celebrity who you could probably never meet on the street ever if you know the internet hadn't been invented. Where I'm going with this is that you can make a real impact in real time with this important change that's it's coming, y'all. The train has left the station. The California Association of Realtors came out, y'all heard me read it, with their announcement, their apology. The National Association of Realtors apologized first. But where is all of this going? Remember those backdoor deals, handshakes, XYZ that I was talking about? They're lining up with the caboose. They are lining up with the train to make sure that they are on it when it leaves the station, to make sure that they stay in front, that as this unravels, their reputation stays intact, as they should. And hopefully, not hopefully, it's going to take us to make them implement real change, significant change. I think about a year and a half ago, there was, I don't know who started this goofy movement to change master bedrooms to the main. I give two flying flips about changing the name of a bedroom term from master. I'm not offended. If we want to start pointing out all of the things that are named something that are offensive, we'd be here all day.
And that's one of the tactics, just stall and keep you distracted with other things when we're really talking about transformative change.
Yeah, and if I could say something real too in terms of the report. I mean, I think what the report also does, Key, as you were mentioning, and Kim, it reveals the atrocities and the harms that have happened since we've been kidnapped and sold here to America. That's why one of the reasons why we're doing this marathon read, to get us out there. Not saying that people won't read it, but oftentimes we're just so busy trying to survive that we don't have a lot of time to actually do the research, right? So this 500-page report, it's about 13 chapters. We're currently on the 11th chapter. It's called Unjust Legal System. I think we're going to be on 12 now, which is the mental and physical harms and neglect that have happened specifically to Black Americans. It's so mind-boggling why the government in particular and private citizens, that reparations hasn't happened sooner, because there's so much evidence in this report. It's crazy and it's ridiculous. But I just also want to say Key as well. She's actually did us a great favor, and we interviewed her actually on our Reparations Now documentary. And Key does an excellent job in terms of proposing her concepts and her ideas about the housing market. We can't give it away because we want you guys to watch the documentary, obviously, but we go even deep further. We actually interview other people, some elders in the community that talk about their experience. They even go in depth about the CCNRs that happen right here in Sacramento, happen in Weed, happen in Los Angeles, happen in the Bay Area, happen in Allensworth. I mean, it happened all across the state. So I don't want to, take up the whole time, but I really want people, if they have a chance, check out our YouTube page and really listen. If you don't have time to read it, then listen. That's what it's here for. It's for people. It's for your chance to really understand what has happened to us, because I didn't even realize how deep it was and even how it impacts me in my community, and understanding why we're in the predicament until you really do your research and really understand where we're at. So I'll land my plane there.
Thank you. This entire discussion, before the discussion started, I told them there's so much information here and we only have an hour. So I knew how long this could go. And it's just really important that we highlight it. It's a tough conversation to have. It's a very tough conversation to tell people that the government that you love was responsible for these atrocities. But it's okay. We all fail. We all fall short. We all do things that harm people in some way, shape, or form, but we have to make it right. And so now America is at a turning point where she's trying to make it right. And I applaud the National Association of Realtors and the California Association of Realtors. And I'm certain that the Sacramento Association of Realtors will follow suit because they have great leadership in place that will line up and help make these things happen as it pertains to home ownership. And with that being said, I also want to point out the National Association of Real Estate Brokers and the California Association of Real Estate Brokers and the Sacramento Association of Realtors. That is the black arm extension of real estate agents and brokers who were formed during that time because they were discriminated against. And not only did they form that organization because they were discriminated against, but their job was to help Black people get into houses. That's what their job was to help them overcome these barriers that they were facing. This last week, when I was gone, I was at the California Association of Real Estate Brokers State Conference. And I am honored to say that I actually accepted a position as a director over the state of California for the conference.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I am now one of, I believe there are 8 directors in the state, and I'm one of those 8 directors. So I now sit on the board. So it's pretty exciting what's getting ready to happen. We have the local chapter has a special event coming up. They have an annual wine, chocolate, and cheese. This is a little kickback. And I have to put this plug in here because my company is sponsoring, one of the sponsors for the event, and the event organizers have given me 1 free ticket. So for any listeners or watchers on social media, you have to be watching right now on social media. I have 1 free ticket. And if you would like to attend the wine, chocolate, and cheese event, I'm going to describe it. But if you say, I want that ticket, type it in the comments and it's yours. It's this Thursday, October 27th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Mix downtown. And so the association is inviting you to join us for an enjoyable evening of light hors d'oeuvres, wine, chocolate, and cheese. And there will also be entertainment, live entertainment, dancing, a silent auction, and more. Oh, Stephanie said, I need that ticket, please. Okay, it's gone. It's gone. Sorry, lady. Okay. All right. I'll see if I can get another one. But for right now, our winner is Miss Stephanie Beck. Stephanie, I will be in touch with you. Congratulations. I'll see you at the event tomorrow evening. And you guys, y'all know what time it is. We are overtime. But I want to thank Chris, Kim, and Umoya. You guys are so awesome. Everything you're doing, I just praise God for you and just wish you much continued success and blessings.
Thank you, Key. Can I say one thing real quick? I'll take 10 seconds here. One, I want to shout out everybody that's watching on live everywhere. Stacy, I see you. I took your comment down, Stacy. I took your email down, Stacy. I'm adding your email to our newsletter list right now, and I would love to send your comment directly to the California Reparations Task Force. Likewise, if anybody, including the Sacramento Realtors Association, the California Real Estate Association, the National Association, wants to send their apology letter to the California Reparations Task Force, I pulled up the email. It's reparationstaskforce@doj.ca.gov. Reparations Task Force at doj.ca.gov. You can send it directly to them. And D Lady, drop me your email and I'll put your email on our newsletter list too. Drop me your email as well and I will put your email on our newsletter list too. Okay, Thank you.
All right. The perfect time, and we got to get out of here. I'm Agent Key. Remember, if you're doing what you were created to do, I will see you at the top. Woo! We just had to hurry up and sign off the radio show, y'all. It was 2 o'clock.
I didn't know if you wanted to say
Thank you so much. It was dope.
Remind me next week to do that. The time ran out.
No,
There's always so much to talk about when it comes to this reparation. Okay, y'all. Thank you. And Miss Stephanie, I am going to reach out to you within the next hour. You'll be hearing from me, and I will get you all set up for tomorrow evening. All right.
Congratulations,
hey,
Stephanie.
Thank you, Chris and Kim and Umoya. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Key. And we are in the finalization of our housing proposal since I'm on that committee. So I may reach out to you just to get your feedback and see if you have any ideas to add.
Please do, Kim, because now that being on the state level with the Realtors Board, they probably have some really good input that they might want to add. And if I let them know that they have that opportunity, that's a really good way for us to participate right through.
Okay, I'll circle back. I'll be in touch soon.
All right. Thank you, my dear. Y'all all weren't supposed to hear that, but see how transparent we are? Look. All right, you guys. Take care.
All right, Key. Take care.
Right, bye-bye.
See you next time.